Hi, this is Colin Genge from RetroTech. I'm about to demonstrate our multi-FanTestic software, which I've loaded already. I'm going to click on the icon on my desktop, and it'll bring it up. And I'm going to say New Test. Just do a little maximizing action here. And the two gauges that I have already been connected. I've clicked Find Connected Gauges. It's found these two gauges. The fan model has come up automatically, which is pulled off the gauge. So the gauge must be set on the right model. And everything is ready to go. I'm going to put in a building envelope, elevation, above ground, average wind speed 5 miles an hour from the west. And I'm just going to whip over here to options and change some of our criteria. Pressure gauge arrival criteria, we say 3 pascals, so at 25, 6% would be, just cut that down a little tiny bit there, down to 5. It's a little bit less slop in our data, so I say OK. We incidentally have this set so that it's going to go all the way through from bias to door fan readings to bias pressure without any operator intervention. And if we want to cover the fans before taking bias pressure readings, then we need to click on this little box here, which I've left unclicked. So we're ready to go, so we hit start the auto test, and it won't do anything for a few seconds. And then all of a sudden this little thermometer type pressure gauge pops up, and right now it's reading minus 1.5, which is about what we've got on the gauge itself. It's reading the same thing. So we'll just let it take its bias pressure readings. And incidentally, the two gauges should be teed together so that it's actually taking the same bias pressure reading. It'll have different inside pressure sensors, but the outside pressure sensor will be the same one. So it's trying to find the maximum, which in this case is minus 2.9, and the fans have started up. So you'll notice over here that the set point is between these two yellow bars, and we're actually above the set point right now, so the fans are slowing down. It'll bounce back and forth over the set point a bit. The fans that we're using are not particularly easy to control since they have a backward curve impeller. They're a very small fan, so I'm just doing this test in my office. But they do serve to provide a nice test bed, or practice bed, I guess, for doing these tests in real life. I'm just going to pop in technician's name here. You'll notice that your computer's slowed down quite a bit from all the communication that's going on. All this test is being performed, and I'm just going to click on the graphs here. And you will notice that these are our bias pressure readings and these are our door fan readings. So our data is being slowly filled in, where this line represents all the bias pressure readings that we've taken, and these represent all the readings that we've taken for the building pressure that have a flow that relate to them as well. If we just pull this up, you'll notice that this graph is pressure on this axis versus flow on this axis. We're starting to put points in here that we're beginning to lay down. So this is 10, 20, 25. So the 25 point is here, and you can see the variation from one side to the next. For some reason it's putting both fans in separately. I don't know why. We need to get rid of that funny little feature because the only one that is really concerned with is this particular set here, which is a total of both fans running. And we do have 2 fans running. I'm just going to slide this off to the side here. And we'll notice that the building pressure on our master gauge, or the number 1 gauge, is shown up here. And if you put the cursor over top, it says target 25. So here our target was 25 and our average point was at 26.1, so it's a little high. And here the target was, come on, 30.5555. So you can take a look at what the targets are. These values here are the pressure variation from number 1 gauge to number 2 gauge. So instead of showing the pressure and then you have to calculate the difference, it actually just shows you the difference, which is really all you're really concerned about, because we don't do anything with that particular reading anyway. Readings over here are for door fan number 1, door fan number 2, are the flow pressure readings coming off the door fan. And they're not pressures, but they're flows. They get translated into flows down here. So each one has its own formula that translates it into a flow based on the style of fan and the range that we're on, which it knows because it's reading the range right off the gauge itself. So whatever the gauge is set to, when you set it up, it will read the range right off the gauge. So I think we are just about, no, we've got 2 more points to take here, I think. I can't remember how many I asked to take, but we'll just draw the graph back here so we can take a look at it. Our data seems to be jumping around a little bit more as we go up in pressure or down in negative pressure, depending on how you want to look at it. Okay, now the fan has started to spool down now. And it will soon start taking bias pressure readings again. Looks like it's finished taking its bias pressure reading, so we can get rid of this graph momentarily. And we've got a couple of points that are a little bit over in terms of their error. So we've completed our pressurization test. We can now go to the depressurization test, but I'm just going to save this section for now and jump back into the depressurization test later.